Namanda, 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 Namanda. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our family service for today. Nice to have so many of you here and there joining us for our service. I'd like to introduce to you the chairpersons for today. We have Wigwag and Paolo the Penguin. So they have each been here before, but not together. So it's nice to see them meeting each other and making friends as they assist us for our services. You'll notice they have their masks on and encouraging everyone to continue to be cautious and safety-minded as we continue through our pandemic. So also they have their onenju on and they are ready for service. So for today's service, we're going to have the reading of the three treasures and the Raisan one. And I'll take my seat on the Onaijin, the altar area, and we will chant the Sambujo and the Ni Rai. Nembutsu and Ekoku will complete the chanting portion of the service, and then I'll come back to the podium for our Dharma message. So with that, we will begin with the reading of the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha, where we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Raisanmon. Ninjin ukegatashi imasure ni uku. Buppo kikigatashi imasure ni kiku. Konomi konjo ni mukatte dosezumba, sarani izure no sho ni mukatte kakunomi o dosen, taishu moro tomo ni shishin ni sambo ni kieshi tatematsuru beshi. Mizukara butsu ni kieshi tatematsuru, masani negawakuba shujo to tomo ni, taido o taige shite ujoi o okosan. Mizukara ho ni kieshi tatematsuru, masani negawakuba shujo to tomo ni, fukaku kyozo ni irite chie umi no gotoku naran. Mizukara so ni kieshi tatematsuru, masani negawakuba shujo to tomo ni, taishu o tori shite issai muge naran. Ujo jin jin mimyo no Howa, 100,000万号にも愛をことかたし、我今見門し従事することを得たり、願わくば如来の真実義を消し立てまつらん。ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、ナマンダ、三部上十二来。 Jippo 法名門菩薩衆無量小魔上三段一生修上願力中法が将来未だ損根体保険知証系前言症状名大座お膝上尿線の子が将来未だ損実法将来勝負し権限人図思案楽戦後尊厳上苦行子が将来未だ損小修上無我と薬尿水月伝尿路一種説法無名字子が将来未だ損一損仏説無悪名薬無尿になく両夫主任死心教依損子が将来未だ損一損無量法勉強仏小修悪知識往生不退死菩提子が将来未だ損我説非損苦毒事修善無変妖怪水小逆前言少女者衛生種上昇非公 Namanda, 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 Namanda. Good morning again, everyone. Really nice to have you all here at this family service. And so I was, just last week, we were talking about maple leaves and other leaves falling during this season and cleaning up, raking up the leaves here in the Bay Area and also at the home in Fayette, Idaho. So we're talking about those kind of activities, and so the leaves are on my mind. So today I have another story and thought about leaves, and there's a very well-known story about maple leaves falling. Not a story, but a poem, and it says, showing front, showing back, falling maple leaves. Okay. So this poem is written by Ryokan, so a very simple poem, showing front, showing back, maple, falling maple leaves. So Ryokan was a Buddhist monk, Zen tradition, Buddhist monk, and so he lived a very simple life. He could have run a temple, but he instead decided to live in poverty in real simple life. So he would have very little of his own. There's many stories about his life. His poems are kind of a record of his daily activities, and he'd write about collecting, gathering foods or plants in the forest type of setting, playing with the children in the area, and so reflections, his thoughts as he did these things in his daily life. And at the same time, they kind of show how contented, even joyous he was to do such. He had very little as far as material possessions, but he had a very rich spiritual life, intellectual life that he enjoyed so much, and he made the choice to live in poverty and not to have these material things. Other stories about him are like when he would sleep and leave his one leg out so mosquitoes could have something to eat, to suck the blood out of his one leg, and he would protect the rest of his body so they wouldn't go hungry. And another well-known story is that a thief came to his house, and all he had was this one blanket that he used day and night to keep himself warm. So he had nothing, and so he felt badly, thought, gee, I should have gotten something from our neighbors, and at least the thief would have had something to steal. So different kind of thoughts than we might have. So this is one of his very well-known poems, and showing how naturally the leaves would fall, showing front, showing back. But human beings are different, and we always show our best side forward, right? And so we want to look like a certain way to our neighbors, to our friends, how we present ourselves at work. We don't want to show the negativities. Maybe I have thoughts or feelings that I hide, and I show this nice front so everyone thinks I'm a good person. Oh, such a nice sensei. But on the other side, I have these other thoughts that each of us are kind of like this, and we hide. So we show front. If we were leaves, we would just fall like this, right? So maple leaves are different. They show each side of themselves so naturally, showing both sides of themselves. And so we have I have a friend, fellow minister, who also really appreciates the Ryokan poems, and this one in particular. So he had to talk about this. I'm not going to provide his name because I don't want him to know that I'm stealing his story. You may have heard him tell this story, and so I think it's great. But he had, gone back to where he first started his career as a minister and as their guest speaker, and so he went back there after, 10, 20 years, and so some of his past members, oh, Sensei, so nice to see you, nice of you to come back here, and then they add the comment, gee, you got fat. And so he's kind of taken aback and he's still smiling, but deeper in his mind, in his heart, he's thinking, well, look at you. You've got old and wrinkly yourself. And so he didn't say this, but he's thinking this. In this sense, showing his good side and not showing these other negative thoughts that did come to mind. So before he came to his first position, he was young and fit, riding bicycles all over town in Japan to get to where he needed to go. So he's very trim and healthy. And after 20 years of serving as a minister, he had gained some weight. So he didn't look as fit as he used to. So this was his situation. And another story that came to mind is Prince Siddhartha. Before he got married, his father, the king, decided to have all the eligible women come so he could meet them. So all these women were getting ready to come, and they would join and come to the palace. And so they had put their best clothes on and bathed and did their hair nicely and put on nice perfumes so they would get the attention of the prince. And so, he was the most eligible person in the kingdom. So they really wanted to make a real good impression. But one woman didn't go through all that. She wore simple clothing and just tied her hair back and came kind of just as she usually is. And so all the women were there, and she kind of stood out because she didn't go through such a preparation. And so he talked to each of them a little bit, and he asked her, how come you didn't do as the others did? And she told him that she wanted to, this is how I am, and this is how I look, and I want people to know my true self, and this is how I am in everyday life, and I don't need to put on all these fancy clothings and perfumes and such. I'm not here to impress anyone. And so through that, he was impressed at the words she said and the truths of what she told him. And so she was the person that he chose, became Princess Yasodhara, Prince Siddhartha's wife. And so this is how he met his wife. And so she displayed this unpretentiousness and kind of like the maple leaves, right? Showing front, showing back, and not being afraid to do so, and falling from the tree to the ground, showing all sides of ourselves. So we can think about how we act, how we protectively show ourselves wherever we go, when we come to the temple, when we come to the doctor's office or the store, how we want to present ourselves. These days it's a little bit different. You always see the commercials about Zoom meetings, and people will dress up nicely from the waist up, and on the bottom they have their pajamas on or something. So maybe because of the usage of Zoom, we need another poem about showing top, showing bottom. So anyway, let me read this poem one more time, so we can each reflect upon how we present ourselves in our lives. Okay, this poem from Ryokan: showing front, showing back, falling maple leaves. With that, please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Thank you again for joining us for this service today. Please come up here and there at your homes to Oshoko, however you have set up to do, with flowers or rocks or marbles. Okay, let's join together one final recitation of the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo. Thank you for being here. Thank you.
One.
Namanda, 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 namanda.